Hello everyone, so here we are with biology class 8 annual exam answers. So the first question was the number of pairs of spinal nerves in human beings is 31. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Adrenaline is also called as emergency hormone. Sumit's blood group is O. He is a universal donor because his blood has none of the antigens and both antibodies A and B. Does not have any antigen, that is why it is blood group O. Short fibers extending from the cell body of a neuron are called as dendrites. A state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances is called as stress. Now, fishes are reared in small rivers, lakes, canals or pond called, now what are these ponds called as? These ponds are called as breeding ponds, or you can also call them as hatcheries. Hatcheries is also correct. But no, it is not pisciculture because we are talking about ponds, right? A protozoan called dash causes malaria. The name of the protozoan is Plasmodium, right? So Plasmodium causes malaria. Blood has a liquid portion called plasma and blood cells called as, what are the blood cells? WBC, RBC and platelets. So these are the answers to the first two questions, MCQs and the fill in the blanks. Now let us come to this part, which is name the following. Let us bring it over here. Disease caused due to under secretion of insulin. What is the name of the disease? Yes, it is diabetes. The red pigment present in red blood cell is hemoglobin, right? Then a break in the bone is, of course, a fracture. Father of white revolution in India. The father of white revolution in India is Dr. Verghese Kurian or Mr. Verghese Kurian. The breeding and management of silkworm for the production of silk is called as sericulture. Now define the following. Double circulation. Double circulation is the circulation of blood through the heart 2 times through closed loops, once from the entire, to and from the entire body, and another time to and from the lungs. That is what you have to mention in double circulation. Adolescence. Now some of you have written it is the age between 12 to 18 years. Fine, but that is just a half part of it. Now if you are looking for the proper definition of adolescence, you have to mention that as a person develops from childhood to adulthood in physical and psychological aspects. So physical and psychological development of a person from childhood to adulthood. That would be the correct definition, right? Now reflex arc, remember it is arc, it is not reflex action. Many of you have written the definition of reflex action. No, all you had to mention was the reflex action. The reflex arc is the path taken by the reflex action. That defines the reflex arc, right? So the immediate stimulus, the response to the stimulus, the part taken by the immediate response to the stimulus or the reflex action is called as reflex arc. Now response. Response is the reaction to any reaction to any stimulus. That is called as the response. Kharif crops. Now these are the crops that are sown in monsoon season These crops are sown in the monsoon season and harvested in the autumn season. They are called as kharif crops. Differentiate between personal hygiene and community hygiene. Many of you got confused with this and you said, what are the things that you're supposed to do in personal hygiene and what are the things that you're supposed to do in community hygiene? No, what you had to express here was, it is talking about what is personal hygiene. So, self-hygiene or hygiene related to one's own body is personal hygiene, and the hygiene related to the surroundings is the community hygiene. That is what you had to mention over there, not what are the things you do. Some have written we should brush our teeth, or we should take a bath every day, and we should throw the garbage. No, you're not supposed to mention those things over here. You're supposed to explain what is personal hygiene and what is community hygiene, right? Apiculture and sericulture. Apiculture is bee rearing and sericulture is silkworm rearing, right? Endocrine and exocrine glands. Endocrine glands are the glands that are ductless glands, right? And these are the glands with ducts. Exocrine glands are with ducts, or you could have written endocrine glands secrete hormones, exocrine glands secrete enzymes. Simple reflex and conditioned reflex. Simple reflex are inborn reflexes, whereas conditioned reflexes are learned with practice. So no practice is needed for simple reflex, whereas for conditioned reflex you need to learn those things. Pulmonary vein and pulmonary artery, there is one basic difference. Pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood because it is bringing the blood from the lungs. So it carries oxygenated blood, whereas the pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood because it is taking the blood from the heart, from the right ventricle to the lungs. Okay, so pulmonary vein carries the oxygenated blood, whereas the pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood, which is reverse of what the veins and the arteries generally carry. To say true or false and correct the false statements. The right coronary artery supplies oxygenated blood to the right side of the heart. Correct. Chikungunya is caused by bacterium. No, it is caused by a virus. Rabi crops are grown during the monsoon and harvested in autumn. Remember, they are the kharif crops, right? The cell body of a neuron is called as axon. No, they are called as, it is called as the cyton. Sensory nerves carry impulses to the muscles. No, motor nerves carry impulses to the muscles, right? Now let us talk about the function. State the function of cerebrum. The function of cerebrum is all related to voluntary action, right? All the voluntary action is related to the cerebrum. Along with all the voluntary action that it takes care of, it is also responsible for your memory, your thinking, and your reasoning, right? Memory, thinking, and reasoning. Now let us come to capillaries. What are the capillaries? What is the function of the capillaries? Now the capillaries are responsible for the exchange of gases, of course, waste material, as well as the nutrients. So all these are brought about by the capillaries. So either of them you could have written. There are three. Out of this, any one you could have written. Thyroxine hormone. When we are talking about the function of the thyroxine hormone, it is related to controlling the growth and development, of course. Then it is also associated with regulating the growth of metabolism, the rate of metabolism. So how is the regulates the rate of metabolism, right? So these are the functions of thyroxine hormone. Now if you talk about medulla oblongata, then medulla oblongata is concerned with controlling all the involuntary actions, right? So if the cerebrum is related to voluntary action, the medulla oblongata is related to all the involuntary action, and along with that it is also involved with actions with heartbeat. Then they are all involuntary actions, of course. Sneezing, then coughing, all these actions. Breathing, sneezing, coughing, breathing, all these are involuntary actions. So they are medulla oblongata is involved with this. Now let us come to the spinal cord. So spinal cord, what is the function of the spinal cord? It coordinates the reflex action, or it is associated with the reflex action, because brain is not involved in reflex action. And it is also responsible for carrying the impulses, nerve impulses, to and from heart. It carries the nerve impulses to brain, not heart, to the brain, to and from brain. It is responsible for carrying this. Let us talk about the last part. Give reasons for the following. We should dispose waste properly, of course, because otherwise, if we do not dispose of the waste properly, then it is going to cause a lot of disease in our surroundings and will make us ill. We should use a cloth sling to administer first aid for fracture. So why do we need to use the cloth sling? For A, I already gave you that it is unhygienic. And what do you mean by unhygienic? It means that it is going to become a reason for spreading many diseases. That is why we should dispose the waste properly. And besides, we should also take care that the biodegradable and the degradable and the non-biodegradable waste are separated, so that maximum utilization even from the waste can be done. We should use a cloth sling. Why should we use a cloth sling? Because first and foremost, it provides support, as well as it provides support, as well as it prevents movement. So if it is not just about, let me just shift this up a bit, it not just provides support, it also prevents the movement of the fractured part, so that it does not get injured any further. We should wash the burnt part of the body with cold water. So first and foremost, the reason is it reduces the heat, because if it has burnt, then it reduces the heat. As a result, it also brings down the pain, and it prevents the blister formation. So the blisters are also not formed, or they are formed in to a lesser extent. Aorta is the largest artery in the body because it supplies oxygenated blood or blood to all parts of the body, right? That's why it is the largest artery, all parts of the body. Of course, it is supplying blood to all parts of the entire body, so it has got to be the largest artery. Blood group AB is known as the universal recipient. Now, many of you have written that AB is known as the universal recipient because it has antigen A and antigen B. But how does that explain them being a universal recipient? So what you had to mention over here was because they can receive blood from all blood groups. That's why they are called as universal recipients. This is correct, but then it does not explain why they are called as the recipient. If you go ahead and explain it, because they have both antigens A and B, they can receive blood from all blood groups. This is the cause, the factor, and this is the reason. Like, that is why it is called as, you have to give reason, right? The reason is not that they have both antigens A and B. The reason is that because they have this is the reason, so they are able to do this. So this is the cause, because there is A and B are present, that's why they are able to receive blood from all blood groups. So if you have written half of the answer, then some marks will be deducted. Half mark might be deducted. Now let us come to the questions and answers. What is the pace? Let me expand it a bit so that you can see the questions clearly. What is the pacemaker of the heart? Now, when we are talking about pacemakers, we are talking about a group of cells. Right? This is question number 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Let me take it this way. Now, 1 we are taking. So, it is a group of cells. These are, now remember, these are specific cells inside the heart which generate electric impulses, right? Now it is because of this electric impulses that the heart gets the message that the cardiac muscles are supposed to contract. Electric impulses to contract, yeah, for contraction of cardiac muscles. Now, because these cardiac muscles contract, that is why the heart is able to pump the blood throughout the body. Give 3 functions of the lymphatic system. Now, if we are talking about the lymphatic system, first and foremost, we know that it helps in the transport of fats. The fats are stored in the lymphatic system, so it helps in the transport of fats. Now, it also supplies nutrients to the cells. Then it is also rich in WBC. So, it also helps us to improve our immunity or to fight with diseases, and it also helps to remove the interstitial fluid, right? Interstitial fluid. Now, what do we mean by interstitial fluid? It is the fluid which is which collects in between the tissues. That is the interstitial fluid. So it is because of the lymphatic system that this interstitial fluid is removed from time to time and a water balance is maintained. And if there is an excess of this interstitial fluid, then you get a swelling in your body or in a specific part of the body. What is cardiac arrest? Now, cardiac arrest is when heart stops beating. When the heart stops pumping blood, it is termed as the cardiac arrest. Now, I am writing it briefly over here, but you are supposed to write it in full sentences, okay? Now, heart stops beating, it is called as the cardiac arrest. Now, what are the reasons for this cardiac arrest? So, the reasons could be the degenerative cardiac muscles. So, there is not the cardiac muscles, but the coronary artery. Like if the degenerative coronary artery, there is some kind of a degeneration in the coronary artery. That means the artery which supplies blood to the heart, if that artery is damaged or there is some kind of a change in it, then it can cause cardiac arrest. Other reasons could be obesity, then excessive smoking or excessive use of alcohol. All these are causes which can lead to a cardiac arrest, right? Let us talk about the last question in last part. List all the valves present in the heart. You know there is tricuspid. You only had to name the valves. So tricuspid valve, the bicuspid or the mitral valve. If someone has written mitral, it's fine. Bicuspid valve. Then you have the semilunar valves, two semilunar valves, which are semilunar pulmonary valve. Semilunar pulmonary valve you have, and then the other one is semilunar aortic valve. So these are the four valves that you had to mention over here. Now let us take up the next question. Write 3 points about the harmful effects of smoking. Now what are the harmful effects of smoking? If you take that, first and foremost, it damages lungs, liver. Some of you, I don't know why you wrote liver. It does not have a direct impact on the liver as such, but yes, it has a direct impact on the lungs. Then it produces carbon monoxide. Now this carbon monoxide is very poisonous gas. So this creates the carbon monoxide gas. This is a poisonous gas. Then you have the other one is it stains your teeth and it creates a bad breath. It damages your teeth as well. So that is also one effect of the bad breath and teeth damage. It also causes teeth damage, right? Now you have only 3 points you had to give. All right, so we are done with this. Now now let us take up the next part. What are vectors? So when we are talking about vectors, these are the insects which are responsible. Insects which carry pathogens are called as vectors. You know what pathogens are. Pathogens are germs that cause diseases. So insects that are carrying pathogens, they are termed as vectors. Now if we are to name the 3 vectors, then you can name majorly they are mosquitoes. So you know that Anopheles, female Anopheles mosquito, it causes malaria. Then there is the Culex mosquito, which causes filaria or filariasis. And then there is Aedes mosquito. This Aedes mosquito, it is responsible for causing the yellow fever. There is another species of Aedes mosquitoes, Aedes aegyptus, which causes dengue or dengue. Then there is rat flea, which causes plague, and all this. Any of these 3 you could have mentioned. So remember, 3 vectors and the diseases, both of them you had to mention. State 2 ways by which disease can be prevented. Very easy. You know a lot of things, so it can be anything related to exercising, keeping your surroundings clean, taking care of personal hygiene, washing your fruits and vegetables before eating them, keeping the cooked food in refrigerator. There are so many things by which you can prevent diseases. State and explain 3 methods of preparation of vaccine. Now if you are how are the vaccines prepared? So either they are prepared with killed germs, the vaccines contained killed germs, or they have weakened germs, or they have fully virulent germs, fully active germs, or they have toxoids, like they are toxoids, like some certain toxic substances which are secreted by these germs that help to prepare the vaccine. So there are various types, so you don't need to mention, like killed germs, polio vaccine is prepared by that, then living weakened germs, measles, tuberculosis, then living fully virulent germs, smallpox. Now smallpox is eradicated, so we don't give smallpox vaccine now. Then for toxides there is tetanus and diphtheria and all that. Bacteria, mostly toxides are made from bacteria. So you just had to mention one or two line, one line about them. So any of the three methods you can use. Draw a neat and labeled diagram of a nerve cell. Now nerve cell, the diagram is already given in your book, and I do not know why I saw a few students drawing top view of a nerve cell. They were supposed to draw a neuron simply. What is a simple reflex? State 3 examples of simple reflex. Now when we are talking about simple reflex, we know that this is, let me take this part over here. So third question 1. Simple reflex is inborn. These are the reflex for which you do not train, do not practice, they are simply inborn. State 3 examples of simple reflex. Any examples you can give, like eye reflex, when suddenly something comes in front of your eyes and your eyes close. Pupil reflex, when you suddenly move from a dark place to a bright place, or from a bright place to a dark place, your pupils automatically contract, constrict, or they expand. Then knee jerk, coughing, sneezing, all these are examples of simple reflex. Any of these you could have given. Now let us come to this table. Growth hormone, it is secreted by the pituitary gland. Now many of you, I saw that you wrote the function of pituitary gland, that it controls. No, the growth hormone you had to give the function of. So this growth hormone is responsible for the growth and development of individuals, as the name itself suggests. Now pancreas, insulin is there, and glucagon is also there. So both of them, either of them you could have written. So majorly people wrote about insulin, and it is responsible for controlling the blood sugar level. Now when we come to the general metabolism of the body, the hormone here is thyroxine, and it is secreted by the thyroid gland, right? Then cortisone is secreted by the adrenal gland, and it is responsible for controlling the salt and water balance in the body. So it is responsible for checking the salt and water balance. What is organic farming? Give two advantages of organic farming. Now when we are talking about organic farming, we are talking about natural fertilizers, right? Where nothing is prepared, fertilizers, which is all made from natural sources. Any two advantages of fertilizers, that's where they are called as manure. So any two advantages of organic farming: first, the crop is healthy because it does not have any chemicals as such. Besides, it helps in soil conservation because it does not damage the soil, and it also does not pollute the soil. So it prevents water pollution because no harmful chemicals are being added to the water to pollute the water, right? Now write a short note on green revolution. So green revolution is when there is an increase in food production. Why is this there increase in food production? Because there have been use of high yielding variety of seeds are being used. Then modern agricultural practices are being practices are being used for the various agricultural practices. So all the agricultural practices are, or most of them are modern technology is being used for agricultural practices. That you had to mention. And the third point which you had to mention was, because it was for 3 marks, M.S. Swaminathan is known as the pioneer of green revolution in India. So these are the ways these are the points you should have mentioned in the green revolution. If all the 3 points are here, then you will get full marks. If something is missing, then obviously your marks will be deducted. Now for the last question, 4 ways in which microorganisms are useful in food industry. First of all, curdling of milk. So all the products that you see, milk products, made from curd, or this cheese production, so they all require the use of microorganisms. Generally they are bacteria which are used in this. Then vinegar production, then a lot of cheese is there, vinegar is there, curdling of milk is there. Then fermentation, for fermentation yeast is used. The yeast is also a microorganism. Then what else is there? Yes, tea. Then curing of tea. So in the preparation of when you are plucking the tea leaves and to make them into the tea that is sold in the markets. So for that, a lot of microorganisms are used for the curing of tea. It is called as curing of tea. So because we are talking about the food industry, so some of you said that mushroom industry. Mushrooms are not microorganisms. Remember that we are talking about microorganisms over here. So these are the points which you could have given. Any of the 4 you could have given. Some have given that penicillium is used to make vaccine or antibiotics, but we have to remember we are talking about the food industry. Yes, alcohol also you can say. Fermentation, yes, alcohol preparation also. Food and alcohol industry, if you're including alcohol as a part of food, then you can also add alcohol production in that. So that is that for your questions in this year's exam paper. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have found your answers.